Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Ready to jump into today's news? January 8th, 2025.
Let's do it.
It's been a wild one. Fires political drama, global tensions.
And even a little bit of Hollywood.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to all the SAG Award excited a bit later.
You've got to talk about those.
Yeah.
Wildfires ripping through California.
Yeah, those images coming out of Los Angeles are
Oh,
just heartbreaking. The Palisades fire, the Eaton fire, thousands of acres burned, tens of thousands of people evacuated, and the air quality. Hazardous.
it's really scary to think about. And, reading that quote from LA County Fire Chief Anthony C. Marone, it really hits home.
What did he say?
Well, he said, and I quote, LA County and all 29 fire departments in our county are not prepared for this type of widespread disaster.
Wow.
He also said, there are not enough firefighters in LA County to address 4 separate fires of this magnitude.
That's chilling.
It is. And it really highlights the growing threat we're facing with these megafires, especially with climate change and drought making things worse. It's not just a California problem either.
No, you're right. We're seeing similar situations play out all over the world.
Yeah.
And it makes you think what happens when our resources are stretched so thin. What happens when we just can't keep up?
Exactly. It's a scary thought.
Speaking of high-stakes situations, let's move over to the political arena. Former President Trump is making headlines again.
Oh, yeah. He's facing sentencing in the hush money case.
Right, the one where he's accused of making those illegal payments during his 2016 campaign. And now he's appealing to the Supreme Court.
A last-ditch effort, it seems.
It is. And his argument, he's saying he has presidential immunity even before he took office.
That's an interesting claim. I'm not sure I've ever heard that one before.
Yeah, legal experts are divided on whether it holds any water. Some say it could set a dangerous precedent.
Right, shielding presidents from accountability for things they did before they even took office.
It'll be interesting to see how the Supreme Court handles this one. Do you think they'll even take up the case?
It's hard to say. They tend to avoid getting involved in cases with such obvious political implications.
Sure.
But then again, this case raises some pretty fundamental questions about the limits of executive power. So it might be too tempting to pass up.
Okay, well, we'll wait to see what happens with that. President Biden's been making some bold moves of his own.
Like what?
Well, he just blocked a foreign company from buying a U.S. company.
Oh, wow. And was it a Chinese firm?
Nope. This time it was Nippon Steel, a Japanese company.
Interesting.
They are trying to buy U.S. steel.
Mhm.
But Biden's administration said no.
What was their reasoning?
National security risks. It's a big deal. It sparked a lot of debate.
Yeah, I can imagine. Some people are probably saying it's protectionist,
Oh, absolutely. But others are saying it's necessary to protect American jobs and industries.
especially in sectors like steel production.
Right. It's definitely got the global business community talking.
I bet.
It makes you wonder what specific products could be affected.
And what kind of message does this send to foreign investors?
Right, like if you were thinking of investing in a U.S. company right now, would this make you think twice?
It might.
Definitely a lot to unpack there. But before we get too caught up in all the political and economic turmoil,
Right.
let's take a moment to remember someone who dedicated his life to peace and service. Former President Jimmy Carter.
He passed away last month,
Yeah, at the incredible age of 100. Today, he's lying in state at the Capitol.
and President Biden declared tomorrow, January 9th, a National Day of Mourning for him.
A fitting tribute. Carter was a true humanitarian.
Absolutely, both during his presidency and in the decades that followed.
He won the Nobel Peace Prize for his work in conflict resolution.
Right. And he continued to champion human rights and social justice.
Even those who disagreed with him politically often admired his character and his resilience.
And how about that long battle he fought with cancer? Truly inspiring.
It really is.
He never gave up.
He was a remarkable man. Okay, well, let's lighten the mood a bit now. Amidst all the chaos and heartbreak, the world of entertainment carries on,
It's a nice distraction sometimes.
isn't it?
It is.
And today we have the SAG Awards nominations being announced. Yeah, they usually do this big fancy ceremony in L.A., but with the fires raging, they had to go digital this year.
Makes sense.
So who are the front runners?
Well, Wicked is leading the film nominations.
Not surprising given all the hype around that one.
And Shogun is dominating the TV categories. Hiroyuki Sanada and Anna Sawai both got nominations.
Both highly anticipated releases. Do you think the SAG Awards are a good predictor of who's going to win at the Oscars?
I think they're a pretty strong indicator, especially in the acting categories.
It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
For sure.
Okay, well, Before we get lost in the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, let's hit a few other headlines.
All right, what else is going on in the world today?
Well, sadly, we have to report the passing of former Orioles pitcher Brian Matus. He was only 37 years old.
Oh, wow, that's young.
The Orioles released a statement saying, "Our hearts are heavy tonight as we mourn the passing of former Oriole Brian Matus, a staple in our clubhouse. From 2009-2016, Brian was beloved throughout Birdland, and his passion for baseball and our community was unmatched."
Oh, that's a beautiful tribute.
On a brighter note, soccer legend Jeff Agus is taking on a new challenge. He's the new general manager of the Portland Thorns.
Wow, that's a big deal in women's soccer.
It is. Then we have some updates on the New Orleans terrorist attack. You know, the one that happened on New Year's Day?
Right.
The FBI just released a photo of the perpetrator, Shamsuddin Jabbar. Hopefully that will help with the investigation.
I hope so.
And across the Atlantic, Austria is dealing with some political instability. Their chancellor just resigned.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, leaving the country with an interim leader for now.
Europe's been going through a lot of political upheaval lately.
Yeah.
It's like dominoes falling.
It really is. And finally, in a story that raises some serious questions about justice and accountability, 11 Yemeni men have been released from Guantanamo Bay.
After how long?
After being held there for over 20 years.
20 years.
Without charge.
Wow. That's hard to comprehend.
It is. Okay, so as you can see, it's been a pretty intense news day.
To say the least. Fires political scandals, international tensions, even a little bit of Hollywood sparkle thrown in there.
Speaking of sparkle,
Yeah.
how about we dive into those SAG Award nominations a little deeper?
I'm ready when you are. Okay, so Wicked is up for a bunch of awards, but like, what other films and shows are getting all the attention?
Well, Shogun totally cleaned up in the TV categories.
Yeah, I figured Hiroyuki Sanada and Anna Sawai would be nominated. Their performances were incredible.
The whole series just sounds amazing. The history, the costumes, the acting.
It really is a visual feast, and the story will keep you on the edge of your seat.
I love that we're seeing such a variety of stories being recognized.
Yeah.
Like you have this epic fantasy film, Wicked, and then this historical drama, Shogun. It's pretty cool.
It really shows how much talent there is out there. Oh, and speaking of talent, were there any nominations that surprised you?
Ooh, yeah, actually. This horror movie, The Last Voyage of the Demeter, got a few unexpected nominations.
I don't think I've heard of that one.
It's based on a chapter from Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, apparently the performances are amazing.
I have to check that out.
And in the TV categories, The Diplomat is one to watch.
Oh, yeah, with Kerry Russell?
Yep.
I've heard good things about that one.
It's a political thriller.
Okay, so back to the Oscars. Do you think Wicked has it in the bag?
It's definitely the frontrunner.
It's got the star power, the spectacle, and the critics love it.
Plus, it's based on a Broadway musical. Those always seem to do well at award shows.
That's true. But I think Shogun could be a real contender. Historical dramas tend to resonate with awards voters.
Yeah, and those performances were just phenomenal.
This is going to be an exciting race to the finish line, that's for sure.
Absolutely. But let's switch gears for a moment. I want to go back to that story about those 11 Yemeni men who were released from Guantanamo Bay.
Oh, yeah, after 20 years without being charged. That's a story that really sticks with you.
It really does. It makes you think about the legal and ethical implications of indefinite detention.
For sure. Can you remind me about Guantanamo? Like, how did these men end up there in the first place?
Well, Guantanamo Bay is a U.S. military prison. It's located in Cuba. And it was opened after 9/11 to hold suspected terrorists.
Right. And these 11 men were some of the first detainees brought there.
Exactly. They were captured in Afghanistan and Pakistan in late 2001 and early 2002 during the early stages of the War on Terror.
So the U.S. government suspected them of being involved with al-Qaeda?
Yeah, but they were never formally charged with any crimes.
So they just spent over 20 years in this legal limbo, never knowing if they would ever be free again.
It's hard to imagine what that must have been like. And their detention sparked a lot of controversy.
I bet. Human rights groups and legal experts were very critical of the lack of due process.
And the indefinite nature of their imprisonment.
It's a really complicated situation. You have to balance national security with individual rights.
And what happens to these men now? Do they have any legal recourse?
That's a good question. I'm honestly not sure. This is pretty uncharted territory, legally speaking.
I imagine there will be a lot of legal battles ahead.
Yeah, as they try to rebuild their lives and seek some kind of justice.
It's a daunting task.
It is. But their story is a reminder of the human cost of these conflicts and how important it is to uphold basic human rights, even when we're afraid.
Well said. Okay, well, on a lighter note, how about we dive back into those SAG Award nominations?
That's good to me.
I'm dying to hear your predictions.
Right, let's do it.
Let's start with Best Actor.
Oh, that's a tough one. There are some really strong contenders this year, but I'm going to go with Joaquin Phoenix for his role in Beau is Afraid.
Oh, yeah, that movie has been getting some buzz.
It's a dark comedy, and his performance is both hilarious and disturbing.
I heard it's pretty intense.
It is. But Phoenix is known for taking on those challenging roles.
That's true. Okay, so who do you think will win Best Actress?
I'm predicting Margot Robbie for Babylon.
Oh, yeah, that period drama set in Hollywood.
Yep. It's about the transition from silent films to talkies.
I've heard amazing things about her performance. And the costumes are supposed to be incredible.
Well, they are. The whole film is visually stunning. It's like a love letter to old Hollywood.
But with a dark side.
Exactly.
All right, let's move on to the TV categories.
Huh?
What are your picks for Best Actor and Actress in a drama series?
For Best Actor, I'm going to go with Bob Odenkirk for Better Call Saul.
Oh, I still need to watch that show.
You do. It's a prequel to Breaking Bad, and Odenkirk's performance is just phenomenal.
Okay, I'm adding it to my list.
And for Best Actress, I'm predicting Zendaya for Euphoria.
She's already won 2 Emmys for that role, right?
She has. She's amazing in that show. It's a really raw and honest look at the lives of teenagers today.
Okay, I'm definitely intrigued.
So those are my top picks. Any other predictions you want to hear?
Are there any dark horses you think could pull off an upset?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if The Diplomat won for Best Drama Series.
Oh, interesting.
It's a really smart and suspenseful show.
And on the film side?
The Last Voyage of the Demeter could be a sleeper hit.
It'll be fun to see who wins.
The SAG Awards are always a good preview of the Oscars.
I'm marking my calendar.
Me too.
Yeah.
But before we get too caught up in award season, we need to talk about Elon Musk and those comments he made about the child abuse scandal in the UK.
Oh, right. That's a story we definitely need to unpack. It's a very sensitive and complex issue.
It is, and it's important to approach it with nuance and care.
Okay, so Elon Musk and this child abuse scandal in the UK, it's a tough one. It's a really sensitive issue.
It is, and it's a complicated situation with a lot of layers.
To give everyone some background, the UK has been dealing with these allegations of child exploitation for a while now, and there are accusations of cover-ups within the government.
Yeah, it's really disturbing stuff.
And of course, Musk, being Musk, decided to weigh in.
And he didn't exactly hold back, did he?
No, not at all. He went on Twitter and accused officials of being complicit. He even named names.
He did. He called out UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, accused him of covering up these grooming gangs.
And then he labeled the safeguarding minister, Jess Phillips, a rape genocide apologist.
Wow, that's pretty extreme language.
It is. And unsurprisingly, it's caused a lot of backlash.
Yeah, people are accusing him of being reckless and insensitive.
Some are even saying he's hindering the investigation with these unsubstantiated claims.
And you know what? I think they have a point. This is a situation that calls for careful consideration and nuanced discussion, not inflammatory rhetoric.
Exactly. It's like he's throwing a grenade into an already volatile situation.
And it's hard to see how that's going to help anyone, least of all the victims.
It's a reminder that even when we're trying to raise awareness about important issues, the way we communicate matters.
Absolutely. Words have power, and we need to use them responsibly.
Well said.
Okay.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. From wildfires and political maneuvering to international tensions and tragic losses, we even touched on some Hollywood glitz and glam.
It's been a whirlwind.
It has. But as we wrap up this deep dive into the news of January 8th, 2025, I'm curious, what are your biggest takeaways?
You know, I think what strikes me most is how interconnected everything is. Like we talked about the wildfires in California and the political scandals, and even that woman in India who survived being hit by a train. They all speak to the complexities of the world we live in.
They do. We're facing some really big challenges.
Climate change, political polarization, the rapid advancement of technology, it can feel overwhelming at times.
They can. But it's important to remember that there's still hope.
There is.
We see it in the stories of resilience and human triumph. We see it in the people who dedicate their lives to making the world a better place. We see it in the everyday acts of kindness and compassion.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance, staying informed without getting overwhelmed.
Right. Engaging in thoughtful dialogue.
Seeking out different perspectives.
And remembering that we all have a role to play in shaping the world we want to live in.
Well said.
So to our listeners out there, stay curious, stay engaged, and stay hopeful. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.